gotten some of the major pieces cleaned up. Got this extension housing almost cleaned up. I still have to clean the gasket surface up real good and clean the outsides better. But I wanted to get the bushing out, and because we got a new one in the kit, it's always good to replace that bushing. So only way I know to do it, and I'm sure there are other ways, but this is the factory bushing removal tool, and it's where's the number? Here it is. Kentmore J4830-02. Same one that's used for the Flight-O-Matic transmissions. So you can probably just take a hacksaw and carefully cut that bushing to release the press fit and get it out that way. I'm going to go ahead and use this tool. I can't find my slide hammer, so I've got a bar and a piece of all thread we'll use for that. We'll have to clamp the extension housing down to the workbench. So the way this thing works is it fits in here, and then you crank it, you tighten up this square head screw, and that expands it to where it'll catch it and you can pull it out. So let's go ahead and get set up to do that, and then we'll be back. Alright, we've got everything set up. What I've done is I've got it attached in 3 places. There is a hole already in the workbench. Never know. This workbench came from a Studebaker dealership, so maybe someone had to do this. Same thing. Have a clamp here, and there is a washer under that protecting the aluminum. And then we got a piece of oak, and got it a nut under that holding it there, and so that push it against this side of the extension housing. And that's an old clamp. That's a clamp from an old Studebaker Packard dealership also. So using some Studebaker stuff to do this. The cardboard is just to keep this, if it drops down, it's not dropping to where this square-headed screw is hitting on the aluminum surface in there. And we changed to something a little different. Maybe a little better slide item, a little easier to do than that piece of square stock. So let me set you up on the tripod, and I'm not, this is going to be probably a good bit of banging, so I'm not going to put you through all of that, but I'll show you how it's done. Alright, let's try this. This is kind of a Rube Goldberg arrangement, but anyway, we'll get it. So I'm going to just do a few times to show you what this is going to be like. The main thing is, don't get your fingers in between here. Alright, it's coming out. So that's enough for you watching me bang on. Alright, we're back. It's out. Took a little bit of banging to get it going, but I think you can see how that fits under that bushing there, and it pops it out. So if you're doing it under the car, it might be a little easier, I don't know. So the bushing's out. Finish getting this thing cleaned up on the inside, and get the outside cleaned up, and that'll be ready to go. But just thought you'd like to see that. Next thing to do on the output housing is fix the threads in these 3 bosses. This is where the shifter bolts up, and I think that's a fairly common problem. I tried to take a video showing the threads in there, but I can't. But they're bad enough that while I've got this out, I want to fix it. If it was in the car, I would just run a tap in it and use a longer bolt, but we're going to fix it right. We've got a recoil. It's just like a helicoil thread repair kit, 3/8/16. Here's the kit. You have a special drill. You have a special tap. And here's the thread cert, helicoil, whatever you want to call it. And you have an installation tool. Probably after looking at it, I'll have to shorten these just a little bit, but it should not be a problem. So we'll get started on that. Well, we've got the output housing or extension housing set up on the drill press. In the turbine generator maintenance world, we would call this using a bunch of cribbing and stack iron. It may look like a little bit of a Rube Goldberg affair, but this is a very odd shape housing, and you just got to keep fiddling with it till you get it right. It's supported under the very end of the tail shaft, which is a round section, so that's hard to clamp down. It's supported up front here, and I've got it on some wood. There's different heights at these 2 locations. You see I've got a clamp here. I've got this wood is clamped down over here, and then I've clamped right here to get the housing, and then I've also clamped this stack of wood here, and it's pretty stout. I mean, I'm not worried about especially drilling into aluminum. And I did use a level to make sure I've leveled this both directions. Then to locate the centers, since I don't have a fancy center locating device, I took a 3/8 bolt that I've cut the head off. I use it to locate transmissions, you know, screw in there and slide the transmission on. So I've located it just so it'll just slide over it, and so that centers the make sure I'm centered in that hole, and I'll have to do that for each of the holes. So let's get you up on the tripod and we'll drill the first hole. Alright, let's get this hole drilled. I'm going to use Alumatap. Notice I have a piece of tape on there so I know how far to go. clean hole. Look, it was well centered. So that's one of three. I'm not going to put you through watching these other two. So we'll be back when we get ready to put the helicoil in. Alright, so all the holes are drilled. We'll blow the chips out, and then we'll take the special tap, which I'm not really sure it's that special, but I hadn't had a chance to measure it. Take the tap, tap the hole, and we'll put the helicoil, or actually they're recoils, in. Here's the kit. It's a recoil. So, same as the helicoil. If you want to use the helicoil, that's fine. So we blow out the hole. Make sure you use some tapping fluid. I've got some aluminum only here, but you can, most of it is good for aluminum and steel these days. One thing about it, this drill they supply in this kit is really, I mean, you barely get this tap started. What I should have done was to chuck it up in here and start it after I drilled each hole, at least get the tap started. But then it would, I knew it would have been straight, but we're just going to have to eyeball it. Next thing is to take here's the threaded insert. You notice it has a little tang on the bottom. Here's the tool, and you'll insert that, and you'll see the tang fits in the bottom of the tool there. And basically you start it in the hole. It's kind of like threading a spring in. And it comes up on the stop, and so then what the instructions say is to turn it 90 degrees. Tap it and break the tang off. Make sure it looks like it's off. They talk about a tang removal tool. Well, a magnet and screwdriver is what I use. Come out. Oh, there it is. There it is. Can you see it? A little tang. Alright. So, that one went a little deeper, which is okay. Maybe I had the bolt right size, but we'll use this line up thread stud. that's not going to come out. So that one went a little bit deeper than I'd already done this one. That one went a little bit deeper, but that's not going to hurt anything. So we got two of them done, and I'll go ahead and do the third, and we'll get this cleaned up, and it'll be ready to go for assembly. Next step is to get the bushing and the seal in the extension housing. So always save your parts. So here's the old bushing, here's the old seal, and I matched them up with what came in the kit. And there is another bushing, longer bushing, and a big old seal, which I think is probably for a Ford T-10. But anyway, I matched these up, and I've got the factory tool for putting in the bushing. But that, you know, as long putting the bushing, it's important to have something that has a step on it, so you don't deform the bushing. And you can whittle that out on a lathe. If you have a friend that has a lathe, they could whittle that out. It doesn't take much. For the seal, I thought I had the tool, but I couldn't find it. So what I'm going to do, I've got a little tool. You can see what this is made out of, PVC stuff for dust cover installation, but that'll work good. I'll get it started with that and then I'll finish it up with this larger one. So I do this a lot. I'll go to the big box hardware store and just look around and find stuff I can use to push in seals and different things like that. And I've got a bushing installer, but a lot of times you don't have the right size bushing installer or seal installer. So instead of pounding on this, I'm going to use my my press, but basically lube it up, mark where you want it, how you want it to go in, and lube it up, and go ahead and press it in. So not real hard, and then we'll put the seal in. The seal, it already has some sealant on it, so we're not going to worry about putting any sealant on it. The old style, you'd put sealant on. Some of the really old style had a little paper gasket, but don't have to worry about it in modern seals. So let's get this thing set up in the press. Alright, got everything lined up. So let's go ahead and put this in. What's nice about this tool is that it properly sets the depth of the bushing. The other nice thing is that there's a hole in it. So this is the same tool you use to replace a bushing with the transmission in the car with the output shaft still on. So there's the bushing in. So let's get the seal and get ready to press it. Alright, got the seal in, well, setting here, got the little dust cap adapter, and I got a block to help me with that. And that's pretty much down, so let's switch to the other one to press on the very edge of it. There we go. So, bushing and seal installed.